Hi everybody, Dan Illman here for Weekend Wrap, taking a look back at last Saturday's Grade 2 Hagyard Fayette Stakes at Keeneland, going 1 1/8. They break from the gate, and we're going to see two speeds down towards the inside. The number 1 Prime Attraction, who in his last 5 starts had the misfortune to run against the best older horse in North America, that being Accelerate. He was very happy to get away from Accelerate in this spot, and he's able to make the lead under Kent DeZormo over this sealed, muddy track. Leafric is running in second right now, and Leafric is coming off of a very good performance in the Grade 1 Woodward at Saratoga. In that 9-furlong test, he was on a very solid pace, put away all of his challengers, and then was run down by two quality closers in Yoshida and Gunnevera. Both entered in next Saturday's Breeders' Cup Classic. Prime Attraction and Leafric are not the only two big-name horses in this race, however. You see in the familiar Juddmonte silks on the outside with the pink cap, that's Hofburg, the winner of the Keeneland Stakes and third in the Belmont earlier this year. This is Hofburg's first start against older horses, and if you remember in the Pennsylvania Derby, his most recent start, Belmont put blinkers on for the first time to try to get Hofburg close to the pace. That didn't work in the Pennsylvania Derby. He was far, far back. In this spot, Hofburg is close to the pace, and Mott had to be pleased at this point, but he's not going to be pleased in a few strides, because Hofburg is just completely outrun on the far turn as the pace quickens up. Leafric stays right on Prime Attraction, and easing off the rail is the number 2, Nice Not Nice. In his prior start, he was second in the Akak Stakes behind Breeders' Cup bound Seeking the Soul. Leafric turns into the stretch now. He and Prime Attraction have been involved in their own mini duel for a while, and Leafric has got a nose in front. Prime Attraction, as is his habit, is going to hop back to his left lead. It's usually very difficult for Prime Attraction to stay on one lead all the way down to the wire, and you wonder if that kind of cost Prime Attraction the race. He fights gamely down towards the wire, but Leafric is just too much, and he finishes the 1 1/8 in 149.87, good for a 97 Beyer speed figure. As the second choice in this race, he returned 540, 280, 240. Prime Attraction 420, 360. Nice Not Nice returned 540 to show, and the exacta Leafric in Prime Attraction paid $11.90 for a buck. Leafric is by the rock-solid stallion Candy Ride out of an unbridled song mare, and you see an enviable record. 7 wins from 13 starts, $650,000 in earnings. This is his second stakes victory of his career. And while Leafric certainly looks solid in this race and ran really well in the Woodward, you wonder if this is kind of his ceiling, a Grade 2 type that might find Grade 1 horses a little bit too tough. There is a chance that he will run in the Grade 1 Clark Handicap at Churchill Downs, going 1 1/8 on November the 23rd, and we'd have to see how that field shapes up, but you would think that race might need a triple-digit Beyer or so to get it done, and Leafric might still have some work to do. He also got a good trip over a wet track in winning the Fayette Stakes. As for Prime Attraction, he showed what he can do when getting away from horses like Accelerate. He is probably not a Grade 1 type, but he's the kind of horse that might be able to win a race at Del Mar during their fall meet, maybe a race like the Native Diver, and he's done some good work on turf as well, so there are still options for the 5-year-old Prime Attraction. Not Nice Not Nice might need a little turn back in distance. I think he's slightly better at 1 mile or 1 1/16. They took their shot here. He got a very nice trip under Gabriel Saez, and it looked like he was in with a shot at the 3/16 pole, but the top 2 were simply classier than Nice Not Nice, who basically ran the same race, I believe, that he did in the Ak. As for Hofburg, who tired very badly and finished 6th, a neck ahead of the longest shot on the board and last place finisher Scuba, you have to wonder if we're running out of excuses. After he won that Keeneland Stakes against a very weak field, he got sick, and they were going to run him in the Travers, and he didn't make the race. So they ran him in the Pennsylvania Derby as Plan B, and he didn't really run that well. Again, with the blinkers on for the first time, he didn't show a lot of speed after breaking from the rail. He was very wide on the turn, and he was kind of one-paced in the stretch. And here, while he was in a decent position on the backstretch and entering the turn, he just was completely outpaced when the real racing began. Maybe he didn't like the muddy track, although he seemed to handle the wet track just fine at Saratoga 3 starts back. Maybe Bill Mott needs to admit defeat with the blinkers experiment and take the blinkers off and get Hofburg back to that race in the Keeneland, where he ran his best ever Beyer speed figure, sans blinkers. We'll see what we get from Hofburg, but right now there are more questions than answers. As for Leafric and trainer Brad Cox, this horse might be on his way to a Grade 1 date in the Clark at Churchill Downs on November 23rd.